I can say I'm humbled to stand here in the Daladamis speaking on such a special day about a tkufa which brings back zichreines of the Rebbe's tsar, the Rebbe being mishtatef, his tsar with us, with the Chassidim. V'hachai yitein el liboy. I was a young bocher. Believe me, I never heard that pasuk. Before the Rebbe spoke time and time again about v'hachai yitein el liboy. Just a small note, it's very interesting that many of the things we have heard over the years, and I'm sure we'll hear tonight about the Rebbetzin, was the fact that the Rebbetzin ran away from any type of kavod and recognition. To the extent that if someone even asked her, what's your shaykhs to the Rebbe, because they were in the Rebbe's house or whatever, she would say, I'm a distant relative, which was true. V'gam omno achoisi basovi hi achloi vasimi semes. What's interesting is, if you take a look at the matzeva of the Rebbetzin, it bechlal doesn't even mention who she was at all. All it says was, the Rebbetz's name, Bas, her parents. It doesn't say Eishes of the Rebbe. Her humility stayed with her and continues to stay with her. That in of itself is a v'hachai yitein el liboy. I remember as a young bocher then, being by the Rebbe, when the tkufa of Chof Beis Shevat happened, the day of Chof Beis Shevat happened, we were all obviously shattered. I didn't find out till the morning. Can you imagine? I was walking to past 770. I lived on Eastern Parkway then. I was walking to go to the mikveh and then go to Yeshiva to Chassidus, and I passed by 770, and there's a big sign on the door of 770. So I never saw that sign. So I walked up the steps, and can you imagine, I'm reading a sign, Halavaya. Many people knew already, but I hadn't heard. Halavaya, Shor Rabbanas, Tzidkonos, Teitze, B'Shot, 12 o'clock from 770, from the Rebbe's house, The shak. And then the subsequent days. It's very hard to express an emotion, to express a hergish. But we as bochurim at the time, we didn't really know if the whole idea of the histalkus of the Rebbetzin and the Rebbe's reaction to it would be off limits to us. Something so personal to the Rebbe, private to the Rebbe. Will the Rebbe allow us, Chassidim, as bochurim, to, so to speak, be mishtatev b'tzaroi to some degree? And indeed, from the beginning, from the first short sicha after Mincha on Chof Beis Shevat, which I was zeiche to be by the door but not inside, that's another parsha, where the Rebbe said the short few words and finished off the sicha to the shluchim that were there, ubefrat as ihr nomen is ihr erste nomen is given chaya. That's how the Rebbe finished. Huh? I'm sorry. And her first name was Chaya. The Rebbe allowed the Chassidim to be mishtatev b'tzaroi. It's hard to describe the feeling and the idea to be able to daven with the Rebbe 3 times a day for a whole year. Obviously, it came from a time of pain. The Rebbe was a chiyuv in Avelus, but it allowed us to be able to daven with the Rebbe 3 times a day. When the Rebbe was in the house, whenever we were able to be inside. And of course, when the Rebbe was in 770 for Chodesh Tishrei and Cheshvan until the Chodesh Kislev, Tavshin Mem Tes. The feeling of being together with the Rebbe in the Rebbe's house, when the Rebbe davened, Shachris, Mincha, and Ma'ariv, is a feeling that's very difficult to express. For those of us who are sitting here who remember, there was, I'm going to use a lashon which is really uncalled for, but I'm going to use it anyways. There was a certain heimishkeit, if that's even possible, but that was the hergish for a young bocher. davening with the Rebbe in the Rebbe's house, coming down, standing mamish a few inches away from the Rebbe. Usually it wasn't packed. Just a few select people were allowed to come in. Those who were on a specific neshima, there was a seder. It's something that's beyond description. And the Rebbe, to speak time and again about V'acha Yiten Aliboy, opened up our hearts, I believe, to do whatever we could during that period, l'zeicher nishmas the Rebbetzin. I remember as bochurim, some of us made hachlotes to add in limud HaTorah. There was a group in my class that learned Gans Mesichte Kedushin Bal Peh, l'zeicher nishmas the Rebbetzin. Many bochurim finished the whole Shisha Sidrei Mishnah in time of Chof Beis Shevat Tovshin Memtes. It brought out a certain kesher and a certain closeness by the Chassidim Bechlal, and I think by the bochurim Befrat in that time, who spent time then, day in, day out, with the Rebbe. V'acha Yiten Aliboy. One of the stories that is told over about the Rebbetzin, I think, expresses something about who she was and about what's expected by every single chosid as well as every single yid. There's a story that the Rebbe actually mentioned this story, but not Lagabe the Rebbetzin, Lagabe one of the Gdele Chassidim by Farbrengen. Rebbe Mechol Dvorkin, Olav HaSholem. The Rebbe said, Tesla of Tammuz Tovshem Memhei, the Rebbe finished the Siche, and Rebbe Mechol Dvorkin had gesagt, when Rebbe Mechol Dvorkin began to sing on Yud Beis Tammuz Tofresh Pei Zayin, when the Frierdiker Rebbe was notified that he would be going free, so he began to sing Niet Niet Nikavo. The story is told that the Rebbetzin, who the Frierdiker Rebbe trusted and took with him to Kastrama, took the Rebbetzin, she was not married at the time, took with him the Rebbetzin to Kastrama, and likewise, when she heard the Psura Tova, that the Frierdiker Rebbe was going to be freed, to go free, she also began to sing Niet Niet Nikavo. Mitayim Muvonim, this was published or put into a particular biography of the Rebbetzin, and the Rebbe crossed it out, Mitayim Muvonim. But the story is told that the Rebbetzin began to sing, and I was thinking about this myself. If your father, the Rebbe of Klal Yisrael, who was Rachmana Litzlan Far Mishpet, and then Far Mishpet even longer, sent to Kastrama, and finally the Yeshua came, what's the first thing she should have said, as a regular person would say? Baruch Hashem, Adain God. She ran to the telephone and called her house in Leningrad. But that your first expression should be Ein Oid Milvadoi, which is the translation of Niet Niet Nikavo. The Rebbe kocht sich time and again by Farbrengens, in my years, benegeh de inyan for Moida Ani Lefonecho. That the first thing we do in the morning, B'yad Sheyeh Mishnosoi, the first thing we wake up is the Rebbe Moida Ani Lefonecho. That's the first thing. The Rebbe explains many times how's that possible, that after you wake up, the first thing should come to your mind is Moida Ani Lefonecho. Be the beer what it may be. As I state in Siddur, it says in the Siddur, Miyad Sheyeh Mishnosoi. So we wake up in the morning, we put our hands together, and we do what it says in Siddur. We say, Moed Ani Lefonecha. But do we really sometimes experience something that the Eibishter, we right away say, Ein Oid Milvadoi? The Rebbetzin, when she heard that her father is going free, didn't do anything else. The first thing, Ein Oid Milvadoi. Afterwards, she went, she called, was Mesader the Inyonim that are supposed to be Mesuder. I think this is a tremendous lesson that every single Yid can learn. That what we know, what we learn, what we believe in is Emes La'amitoi. And when there's an opportunity to express ourselves straight without anything else, nothing else, one thing, Ein Oid Milvadoi, Moida Ani Lefonecha Melech Chai V'Kayom. That's the first thing that needs to come to our mind. Tremendous and powerful lesson of V'acha Yiten Aliboy. As well, I remember still when the Rebbe said this over, and a chill ran through us. It's famous, I'm not going to say in the Chidushim, when the Rebbe mentioned that the Nifteres, that the Rebbetzin had said then when she was asked about the Svarim, And she answered, as der Tate mit the Svarim haben gehört und belangt zu Chassidim. My father and the Svarim belong to the Chassidim. That's something that the Rebbe shared with us, similar to what the Rebbe wrote in that famous zettel, which was publicized, I believe it was Shchodesh Kislev, maybe Tovshim Memches. I think that was the Trufa, maybe it was, I think that's when it was, when Rabbi Krinsky was mefarsim that famous zettel, Kol HaMureh Chabad, the whole zettel, that the first thing is giving themselves over to Chassidim, etc. But this word, as the Tate had gehert zu Chassidim, is not just a simple word, which means that basically that the Rebbe, and the Frierdiker Rebbe, and the Rabbeim, everything they had, every fiber in their being, was only for the Chassidim. It's a tifere word. As the Tate hat gehert zu Chassidim, means that brings out the kesher, pnimi va'atzmi, of the Rebbe and his Chassidim. And in order for that kesher and pnimi va'atzmi to be relevant, it has to be a two-way street. So nish the pshat that I could sit and relax, we all could sit and relax. Amachaye, we have from the Rebbetzin, the Rebbe's tochter. The Rebbe was once walking home in the shins, I heard, and Reb Leibel Bistritzky was talking to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe told him after a few minutes, Reb Leibel, the Rebbe's tochter wart von mir. The Rebbe's daughter is waiting for me. I have to go home. This word is teaching us, gehert zu Chassidim means, that's not the pshat that we can sit here and say, yeah, the Rebbe gehert to us and everything is good. It must be a two-way street. We need to turn around and we need to face the Rebbe and we need to be mekabel the Rebbe was gehert zu Chassidim. Otherwise, es ken sein as gehert nicht zu dem Chassid, or you're not a Chassid, one of the two. And the Rebbe mentioned this word of the Rebbetzin, I believe, to bring out the v'achai yitein el liboy, number one, to realize as the terher dominion, obviously, and be'ikir, that we have to turn around and we have to be mekabel the Rebbe and strengthen our hiskashrus to the Rebbe. On this special auspicious day of Chof Beis Shevat, when the Rebbe, I believe, allowed us to enter into his personal life and asked us and expected from us the v'achai yitein el liboy. So it's a time that we need to focus and think about our personal hiskashrus to the Rebbe. And me thinking back to the zichrenis of that kufa, it brings out a tremendous regesh, because I was at that age and I came to learn in New York by the Rebbe in that year, in Tovshin Memches. From that kufa of Chof Beis Shevat, we didn't leave the Rebbe. We didn't leave. We went to yeshiva to learn, and we came straight back to the Rebbe. We came straight back to the Rebbe's house. We came straight back to 770. We poshet mit haben geetimt und gelebt mit den Rebben, day in, day out. Mamish kipshutay. And we should all be zoiche that because of Mamish, we should be united with the Rebbe through the Bias Moshiach Tzidkenu because of Mamish. Shkoyach.